Hey there, Dr. Colleen and Dr. Marc here from Lifetime Wellness. Welcome to Live at Not 7:05 this evening. Sorry, we were busy right up till the end of our shift once again.
A couple latecomers, but that's all right.
Yep. So to kick things off, we'll let you know why we're talking about this particular topic tonight. But it's based on something we've been doing in our office and at some of our events in the last week or so, and it's based on this postcard we have, which is, this is your question of the day. First of all, have you seen this yet? Have you received this yet? If you've been in our office, did you pick some of these up, or did you see our email with these in it? Just yes or no, did you get your postcards yet?
Maybe we should post it.
I'm going to.
With this.
The postcard basically lays out the other side of our office. You know, we have these two sisters of our practice. One is our advanced chiropractic care. The other is the functional medicine, functional nutrition, metabolic side of our practice. So that's what this is featuring, and it just lists the different conditions and symptoms that we can help with. But
what kind of conditions are they?
What? I don't know. What do you
The
want me to say?
conditions that medicine just really stinks at. If you want to take more drugs and have more surgeries, then you can go there. But if you want solutions, we can help you with it.
So one of the most important visits that we can ever provide someone in our practice is this initial functional medicine, functional nutrition consultation that we do. That's a very thorough, personal, investigative approach to help people really go upstream and look for root causes of why they're not feeling, functioning, or looking as good as they would like to. But we're looking for root causes and how things got out of balance, how to bring them back to balance, not just treat the symptoms. Anyway, there's a lot more to that visit. There's many components to it, including something we're going to feature tonight that Dr. Marc's going to explain. But that visit alone is normally $195, and what you find on the back side of these postcards is that from now through the end of this year, we're actually taking $100 off that. So you can come in if you're already a practice member, a chiropractic practice member. You can come in and take advantage of this. You can share this with as many people as you want, near and far. This applies to our distance care programs as well. So I think that's all I want to say about that for now.
Yeah.
But you got to schedule it by the end of the year for sure. And one of the things that we include in every metabolic nutrition consultation we do is what Dr. Marc's going to be talking about tonight, because it's that important. So I'm going to be on the other side of the camera. If you have questions, comments, please let us know. Remember to comment already though. Did you receive one of these yet? And I'll be posting it in the comments as well as on our Facebook page. Subscribe so you see our videos. Go over to our YouTube page, youtube.com/lifetime wellness. Make sure you're subscribing so you don't miss any of these that we're doing. And I'll be over there.
All right, so I guess we're going to turn this a little bit. So tonight we're just going to highlight one of the tests that we do during this consultation. That's part of the workup that we do on day one. And it's a lab test that we do in office. We don't have to send it out. We get results immediately. And this is really going to kick off a series of things that we're going to be talking about over the next, I don't know, 4 to 5 weeks. They're all going to kind of tie together. And so that'll become clear towards the end of what I'm going to explain to you. But this is kind of step one in how we start to do our investigative approach to people. Now, you've heard us talk in previous videos, or if you've been in the office, we talk a lot about inflammation and how important it is. And when we talk about inflammation, we're not talking about inflammation like if you twisted your knee and it swelled, or you fell and your wrist swelled up. That's inflammation, but that's localized due to trauma. When we talk about inflammation, we're referring to cellular inflammation. And so we have a test to measure your level of inflammation. And how cool would that be to know, if you have chronic inflammation or if you have a high level of cellular inflammation. And you want to know that because inflammation is really what drives all chronic illness, everything from cancer to diabetes, to Alzheimer's, to even thyroid issues, gut issues. Inflammation is a major player, and we're going to get into what causes, some of the common causes of inflammation. But the first thing we want to measure, what's your level of inflammation? So what we use is a test called the meta-oxy test. It's from Systemic Formulas, and it's measuring it's more of a specific measurement for cellular inflammation, meaning the cell membrane is inflamed and sort of breaks down. And so we're actually measuring, getting rid of that. And it's measuring malandialdehydes. It's one of those names that too many consonants and vowels together. Too long of a word.
Says the guy named VanHoogstraat.
Yeah. And this is actually 50 times more accurate than a blood test. And there's markers on a blood test that you can look at that measure inflammation, like homocysteine and C-reactive protein and some other things. But this is even more accurate than that, and there's no blood draw. We get some urine, you go to the bathroom, you collect some urine, and it gets put into this little vial. And in about a couple minutes, we look at it and we measure what color it is. And so if you can see this, if you're a 1 or a 2, that's pretty good. That's where you want to be. If you're a 3, you're okay, but you're starting to show some signs of cell membrane breakdown and oxidative stress at a cellular level. If you're over here on the right side of the scale, a 6 or a 7, that's an important thing to know, because you need to address inflammation. It becomes a priority, and if you don't get inflammation under control, you're really going to struggle getting healthy. You're really going to struggle losing weight. You can't be healthy if you're inflamed. You can't feel good if you're inflamed. You can't lose weight if you're chronically inflamed. So this is a big deal, and it's the #1 driver, again, of all chronic illness. So measuring that, on one hand, is good to know. We can also remeasure it. And as we're working with people and they're working through protocols or program, we can measure that and see that inflammation decrease. So you can see the evidence of what they're doing is actually working. So we're going to take a minute on it and dive into, so what are you talking about when you talk about inflammation? So we're going to go to the board here tonight, and we're going to draw a cell. And you have roughly 50 trillion cells in your body. A lot of them are made up similarly. You have muscle cells and organ cells and different types of cells. But they're structured in a fairly similar way besides red blood cells. And so this is the cell membrane. Inside your cell, you've got what's called a nucleus, where your DNA is stored. You've also got these cool organelles called mitochondria that produce ATP. Critically important. We can't do anything without ATP. That's our life currency. That's what all the fuel we take in gets converted to ATP. We want more mitochondria and more ATP. You're a better human if you have that. On the surface of the cell, on the cell membrane, are all the receptors for really everything that needs to communicate with the cells. Your hormones, your neurotransmitters, even nutrients, things that need to deliver a message to the cell. So let's just use thyroid as an example. We have T3, the active thyroid hormone. So we have receptors that are specific to T3. They can come down, dock at their special station there, and now they send a message whoop, into the cell, and that's when the magic happens. You can have all the hormones floating around in your bloodstream and in your body, that you can measure with a blood test, but this is where the pedal hits the metal. This is where the action happens. That cell has to talk, or that hormone has to talk to that cell for anything to really happen. So this is where inflammation comes in. So if someone has, poor diet, they're eating lots of, bad fats, preserved foods,
grains,
lots of sugar, and refined carbohydrates, artificial things. Those are very inflammatory. They can create a lot of inflammation, and what gets inflamed is the cell membrane. Your cell membrane is mostly fat, good fats, and lipid, or good fats and cholesterol, and also protein. Protein makes up most of the channels for things to get in. So, on one hand, we want things that nourish the cell to be able to get in. So good stuff goes in, and as stuff happens, we're obviously going to put off waste materials or maybe some toxins. We want those things to get out of the cell. Well, if the cell membrane gets inflamed, sometimes that gets stopped, and good stuff doesn't get into the cell. So now the cell itself can become toxic. It can also become undernourished, so it's not going to function at a very high level. Well, in addition to just that occurring on the cell membrane, these receptors here can start to get inflamed. and congested. So now your hormones come along and they got nowhere to dock. They're just going to bounce right off. And now you have moved into a state of what's called hormone resistance. So you've probably heard of insulin resistance. Well, you can be estrogen resistant. You can be testosterone resistant. You can be thyroid resistant if you have chronic systemic cellular inflammation. So this is a big deal. And a lot of the work that we do when we're doing functional nutrition work with people, it all comes down to fixing the cell. Because at the level of the cell is where things go right and where things go wrong. Virtually every disease you've heard of, what's happening is happening at the level of the cell. And in a lot of cases, this is the first stage, it's cellular inflammation. So this is and so the meta-oxy test, when we see someone in a 6 or 7, they got a lot of this going on. And it's going to be really hard for them. And you can dump as many hormones as you want. You can be on levothyroxine, Synthroid, you can be on insulin, you can be on, be taking estrogen, you can be taking all kinds of hormones, but throwing more hormones that can't talk to the cell into the picture is not going to fix it, okay? So a lot of the work that we do starts to reduce inflammation, and in a second here I'm going to talk about the primary things that cause inflammation, but then we also repair the cell. So we can help repair the cell membrane, we can help repair the mitochondria, support those, we can help clear toxins so that we're not triggering genes that are associated with chronic illness and early death. So let's talk about what are the biggest things that cause inflammation. We mentioned a couple already. We have sugar, refined carbohydrates, bad fats like trans fats, the vegetable oils like your canola oil, but by far the number one, absolutely, is toxins. And it should be no surprise to people in today's day and age. We live in a very toxic environment, and it's not that it's dirty, it's just it's sort of insidious that toxins are in our food supply, toxins are in our homes, fabrics, fire retardant, heavy metals, insecticides, pesticides, herbicides, personal care products, loaded with chemicals. We know that there's over 80,000 man-made chemicals that have been created. And we also know with a recent audit, I think it was 2016, we know that over 40,000 of them are actively in use in our communities.
Jennifer added toxins in water.
Yeah, well, yeah, you think of lead in water supplies, chlorine,
pharmaceuticals
now seeping right through the sewage system. So we're inundated with toxins. Now, fortunately, our body has systems in place that we can detox fairly efficiently, including our cells need to detox. But we can become overburdened, especially if it's repetitive, if it's on a regular basis, or maybe unknowingly you're exposing yourself through your workplace, mold in your homes that you're not aware of, things like that. All these different types of toxins are the number one cause of not just inflammation in the body, but sickness in general. I think it was the next video, I'll have to look it up, but it was either Harvard or I forget. Basically said 95% of all cancer, 95% of all cancers are due to the environment and your diet. So when they talk about the environment, they're talking about toxins. And when they talk about your diet, they're not talking about broccoli, they're talking about toxins, poor diet. So toxins are the big deal. And so we do a lot of work helping the people to detox at a cellular level. In our office, it's called the True Cellular Detox. And you got to be smart about how you detox, and we're going to get into that. That's going to be kind of the series that we're going to be covering over the next few weeks, because this is one area of your life that if you put some attention into this, total game changer. Like this will literally turn your health around. So inflammation, we can measure it now with, well, we've been doing this for years. We use what's called the meta-oxy. It's a simple urine test. We do it right in the office. We can even send it to people. You can do it at home, take a picture of your results and send it to us if we're doing a distance care thing. So very simple test, no blood draw, more accurate than a blood test even. So one last thing I'm going to talk about. I'm going to erase this real quick. to show you just how this affects us throughout our life. So I'm going to draw a bucket. Hopefully it looks like a bucket. So there's your bucket. And think of all those 50 trillion cells in your body as 50 trillion little buckets. And as we navigate our way through life, we're going to be exposed to toxins and trauma, and let's just call it stress. Mental, emotional stress, physical stress, chemical stress. And it can even start in the womb. We can be exposed to toxins through mom, passing things along. So, we're born and we have, a little bit of the bucket starting to fill up with stress. And again, we're going to focus a lot on toxins, but it's an accumulation of all these different stressors in our life. And this is why, we coach people on not just nutrition, but exercise and movement and mindset and different lifestyle factors. And then, maybe you have some ear infections and you're on antibiotics, or maybe you're subjected to the myriad of vaccinations that they want kids to have now. And so we add more toxins and more stress to our buckets. Now, if we're healthy and we're doing a lot of right things, our body can dissipate some of that and we can get rid of some of that. But for a lot of people, it just starts to bioaccumulate over time. And so, maybe you're not eating a healthy diet, maybe you've got a lot of work stress, or you work in an environment loaded with toxins, and you can see your bucket starts to fill. And eventually it gets to the point where we're really full up here, and all it takes is one little trigger. All it takes is that it could be just a minor accident, like a little fender bender. It could be you had some dental work done. It could be just an emotional stress that happened in your life, maybe something at work or in your family or at school. One little thing, and next thing you know, the bucket's overflowing. Now you have symptoms. You were doing pretty good as the bucket was filling, because our body can handle a lot. But once your bucket fills and it starts to spill over, and I always like to use the example of like a water bottle. If you have a water bottle or a glass that's full, and you just shake it a little bit, water starts spilling over the edge. But if you have one that's half full or less, you can shake it pretty good and nothing's going to spill out. You can handle that. That's what we're designed to do. We're designed to adapt and compensate to things. So two things that we need to do here is we need to reduce the stress and toxic load in your bucket. And for some people also, they actually start to get holes poked in their bucket. And so those need to be repaired. And that's repairing the cells. So just wanted to give you an example of how this kind of inflammation due to toxins and other kind of stress really starts to break down things at a cellular level. And this is the example where someone's like, man, I felt great, I felt like I was pretty healthy. Next week you hear someone had a heart attack, or someone got diagnosed with something, or just everything went downhill. This is how it happens. So in our office, it all starts with this one simple test that we do in conjunction with the detailed history that we do in the consultation. There's another test that we'll touch on in another video that is more specific to neurotoxins, so we'll talk about that in a future visit. But I just wanted to highlight the Meta-Oxy test that we have available. I don't know of any other offices in the area that use this test, but it's standard in our office, and it's a great way to measure your level of inflammation. Inflammation is the key. So hopefully I didn't forget anything.
Well, how was it? So, like Dr. Marc said at the beginning, this is going to be part of a little series that it's important. You just got one piece of it tonight. We're going to fill in the rest of the pieces over the course of the next couple weeks. Next week we're going to switch it up a bit though, because it'll be the eve of Thanksgiving, so we won't dive in too heavy into toxicity. Yeah, we're going to be in, we don't know where we're going to be next week. But we'll carry on with this theme over the next few weeks, because it's very important. We are all affected by this. Every single age group is affected by this, and we have solutions. We have solutions that other components of healthcare do not. It's just ridiculous that it's being ignored. We need to do something about it, because toxins aren't going anywhere, but we can control, we can improve, and we can control our response to those toxins. So that's
you got to detox the cell, and you got to fix the cell
in order to be well. So I'll post this either in the comments below this video. If it won't let me, I'll post it up, tag it, pin it near the top of our page. All right, so we'll
Cool.
see you all next week.